topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Good morning, listeners, and it's that time of the year where we are coming close to ending one year and getting ready to step into the new year. And it's important that we take a look at how the year has been and how are we going to step into the new year. So today we will be touching some of those things. So let's jump into it and see what the show is going to be all about today.
Hi there, Divya. So great to see you.
Good to have you, Tanya.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So usually we start out, do you recall a moment, whether it was, when you were a child or when you were young, when a person or when a moment left a positive mark on you?
Left a positive mark? Absolutely. I was 11 years old and let me give you a little backstory because it'll make this make sense. So I was born homeless. My mother didn't have a place to take me to when she gave birth to me. A woman, an angel, I call her, saw my mom crying on a park bench and helped my mother find her way to the government housing authority, which placed us in government housing. So I grew up in a government housing project. And as a child, I had been abused. I had experienced colorism because my fair skin didn't match up to the darker complected African-American folks in my community. I had been bullied. I don't know my father, so I was fatherless. And a combination of all of these things left me feeling different and looking for where my place of belonging would be. As in third grade, I was bullied as a child. I was bullied in the cafeteria by the popular girls in school. And that third grade incident left a mark for me. And I made a decision about where I felt I belong and do not belong in the world. And most of us do as kids, because belonging, Divya, is one of the most important needs we have, biological needs we have. And so I determined in that cafeteria that I didn't belong, that I don't matter.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, now, my heart goes out to that little girl.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So I made a decision that I don't belong. Now, fast forward to I'm age 11 to answer your question. I'm age 11 and I am invited to attend Christmas Eve dinner at the home of a couple who attended our church. They happened to be a white family. And so from my government housing project to their home out in the suburbs was probably a 30-minute drive, but it felt like I had driven across country, Divya. And when we arrived at their house, we approached a driveway, and the house from the end of the driveway to the house, it felt like it was 4 city blocks long. It just felt like the driveway went on for forever. And then the home looked like a mansion to my 11-year-old self. And then we enter the home. I know now that it's a center hall colonial home, but back then I thought it was a mansion. And they opened the door, and there's this Christmas tree with all these beautiful porcelain ornaments, and there were the green and red Christmas decorations on the dining table and throughout the home, and the mantle was dressed beautifully with greenery and ornaments, and it was spectacular to my 11-year-old brain. So I'm fascinated by this. And so eventually, as the evening went on, I got curious about Mr. Bill and Betty. And I said, so what does Mr. Bill do for a living? He's a lawyer. Oh, what does Betty do? She stays at home. She cares for the kids. So my 11-year-old brain becomes the computer and says, wow, so Mr. Bill earned all of this? I want to be a lawyer, right? And so at age 11, there was something else I learned about myself that day, that there are the haves and the have-nots. Now, remind you, I felt like I was someone who didn't matter. Now at age 11, I see that there are people who have and people who have not, and I determined I was a have-not, all right? But Mr. Bill was a lawyer. Said, I'm going to figure out how I am going to become a lawyer. And I set at age 11 a trajectory in my life to become a lawyer. My high school had a law and public service magnet program. So I was able to participate in the law program in high school. By age 16, I'm working in a law firm as a court runner. By age 18, I determined I didn't want to be a lawyer because all that experience helped me to know that lawyering wasn't for me. And so, but what happened though, is that I was able to set a goal and achieve it. And I knew that there was a world out there that was so much bigger than me, and I wanted to play a part in it. I wanted to fit in it. And so that experience of going to Christmas Eve dinner was life-changing for me.
Oh, that's a beautiful story. And that 11-year-old girl, oh, so beautiful. She is making, I can see you right there, Tanya, making up your mind. And it seems like you had a beautiful vision, like, this is where I want to go. I'm going to go after it. So I can definitely see that desire and that burning fire within that little girl. So tell us, as that little girl grew up, she decided not to be a lawyer. Where did she decide to go after that?
Thank you for that. So yes, I actually, by age 17, I realized I didn't enjoy working at the law firm, but I became very interested in the media. And my mom found a summer program where I could train for working with the media. So we did television, radio, newspaper training. And I got wonderful experience of working with some of the best and most prominent African-American folks in the media in the city of Pittsburgh, where I grew up. And so I actually started working at the law firm at age 17. While I was working at the law firm at age 16, on the weekends, I got a job at the radio station. And by college,
starting young.
Yes, I started working really young. So I was having career experience in high school while many of my friends were in sports. So unfortunately, I missed the opportunity to play sports, which I really would have loved. But I was very studious. I excelled at school, and I was beginning to recognize again, because what was fueling me was I'm a have-not. So I'm now in my life seeking to disprove this thing that is operating as a self-limiting belief. Okay. So I started working in radio. I went to Duquesne University undergrad, and I studied corporate communications and English. I started in journalism, then I switched to corporate communications. That's where I got my degree. And I have a dual degree in English as well. I worked in radio for about 4 years. I climbed my way from being an audio journalist to being a producer in 4 years. And I discovered that I really liked what was happening behind the scenes of radio. I loved the marketing aspect, understanding the consumers, understanding the what consumers want. While I was in college, I secured an internship with a market research company that did market research for radio. So that set me on the trajectory to later pursue an MBA. And then after I got my MBA, I got a job that was unlike any other. And I worked in various other industries after I left the radio company. I worked for Chrysler in their marketing and communications department. I worked at Toyota. I worked for a hotel chain, all in marketing. But after I secured my MBA, I leveraged this. I secured this amazing job for an office furniture company, completely different than any work I had ever done. I was actually reporting directly to the senior vice president of sales and marketing and operations. And I was working in a process job, less creative. I was a consultant, and it was amazing. The bottom line here, though, was I discovered interior design while I was working at this office furniture company. And this now solidified for me this incredible exposure to something beyond any level of creativity I had known at this point. And I knew I had a talent for it, but I didn't know that it was a career. I didn't know there was training for it. I didn't know people got paid to do it. I just knew wealthy people have folks that do things for them. And that's what I thought it was. So I left my corporate job. I learned in the field how to operate and how to sell using design services to support clients through the office furniture company. And then I left and started my business. So that was in 2002, and I've been an interior designer since. Yeah.
What a powerful story. So sometimes it's what happens is we don't have those hard conversations. If you're up for it, I want to have some hard conversation today.
Awesome.
Because
yeah,
you are a beacon of hope and light for so many out there. So you decided that you were a have-not, but you didn't let that stop you. And so many times what happens is that people, doesn't matter where they're at, men or women or whatever age they're in, they decide, they put themselves in that sandbox and restrict their playing area. That, okay, I'm a have-not or whatever, I'm a victim or I'm. And this is what is the case, and I can't do anything. But you didn't think that. So these are the internal ceilings that so many of us have that. And it doesn't matter where we are at. And we do have, all of us have that to some form or shape.
Right.
So tell us that, did you ever experience that? Or, and how did you kind of handle that?
Yes. So at the top of my career, I was named one of the top 20 African-American interior designers in the United States. So I'm at the top of my career, and I received this acknowledgement. I didn't know what to do with it, Divya. I didn't know how to be one of the top 20 African-American interior designers in the United States. Why? Because I believed I didn't matter. So how could I possibly, there's an internal conflict now. How could I possibly hold this honor? Now, I have been an achiever my entire life. Of course, I had to be an achiever because I'm trying to disprove that I don't matter. But now I got this acknowledgement that I do. And it caused an internal conflict. And the bottom line is it caused me to fall. I fell, I hit my rock bottom because I didn't know how to reconcile these two things that made no sense. I'm a have-not, I don't matter. Now I'm being told I'm one of the best in the country. I hit rock bottom, and I now had to rebuild my life, Divya. And as I began rebuilding my life, I trained with some of the best spiritual leaders in the world. I trained with some of the best emotional intelligence coaches in the world. I trained with traditional therapists. I had experienced traditional therapy. I trained with some of the best corporate and executive leadership coaches in the world.
So what I'm hearing is that there was this, and I want to call it out, is that yes, even though you were moving forward in life, there was an internal conflict. Like, okay, I'm moving forward, and yet you didn't expect, or you could not reconcile that acknowledgement from outside. So what's that telling me? And as I've seen for myself and for my clients in my experience, that having the internal validation is the primary thing. Like, and then that's where, like, we create invisible ceiling. So tell us more about that, like in the invisible ceiling. And
absolutely.
And so, how did you go? Like, you invested in yourself. You hit rock bottom, but you decided not to give in. So there's so many people who give in. What would be your message to them? I know I've asked you multiple questions here.
Yeah, so let me make what I was saying make sense. So as I was doing all this training, Divya, I began to see other people who were very much like me doing similar training, and were hitting similar ceilings. And the ceilings are the research I've now done as I have evolved to become a life coach, transformational life coach, is I began to research what are the ceilings that we set for ourselves and how do they form. One of the first ceilings that we set for ourselves is the one that we typically set, as I did as a child, when we're little. And it is inside the construct of defining how we belong in the world or how we don't. So for me, my ceiling is I don't matter. And I say I'll come back to that in a second. I don't matter. Someone else might feel I'm unwanted. Those are the people who fear being abandoned. Someone else might feel I am powerless. Someone else might feel I am not seen, I'm not heard, I'm invisible. Someone else might feel I don't matter. I'm sorry, I am not enough. I'm not enough. That's not the same as good enough. Good enough is a statement of deserving. I'm talking about the belonging ceilings. And I am not enough. It's just like absolute not enoughness. Like that's intense and profound. I'm bad. I'm too much. These are others. So we have these ceilings of belonging. And those are typically where our shame lives. And then we have other ceilings that are circumstantial. A ceiling that might be, I'm not smart enough. I am too overweight. I am too underweight. I'm not a winner. These are things that are circumstantial. They change depending on the circumstance. So these are the types of ceilings that we set for ourselves, and we set those really early in life. So now to understand what happens to us, to follow up, what happens to us when we hit these ceilings is we do something because we're just trying to survive the world. So we set a patterns, these become our belief system, but then we also set together or create practices to survive in life. And those practices become the people pleasing, the overachieving, which was mine. I also do people pleasing too. The overachieving, the people pleasing, things like that. And so that's what happens inside those feelings.
Right. What you're saying is that, you're compensating for those beliefs, that this is where I lack, this is where I do. So how do I get that external validation? So to do that, either you're overcompensating or underplaying yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, some great points there, Tanya.
Yes. Thanks, Divya. That's absolutely right.
And so now they have set the ceilings, and you mentioned when you were at the rock bottom, what was going through your heart and soul, and how did you, move through it? Because there's no way around it.
So one of the things that happened as I was in my rock bottom was I became a student, and becoming a student ultimately helped me sort of rebuild. So I say that I had to experience hitting bottom twice in my life. First, when I was born, I had to rebuild. And then when I got to my top, I had to hit rock bottom again to rebuild. So I rebuilt my life twice. And that's how much I had to learn. But as I was learning, I recognized that what I was learning was too good to keep to myself, Divya. It was important that I share this with others. It was important that I help other people go through a journey in life to become self-aware, first of all, because I believe that's the first step to being able to shift what we have as the ceiling. And the ceiling is the belief systems that we have. The ceiling is attached to the belief systems. It's very rarely that the ceiling is external. Usually the things that we think are our ceilings, we don't have the opportunities that we think we have. We may not get the promotion. We may not find the man of our dreams. We have these beliefs that are these external experiences, and we define those as our ceilings, but really the ceiling is what's happening internally. It's the emotional ceiling based on our belief systems. And that's the invisible ceiling that I'm referring to with you today.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense, because what happens is that those limiting beliefs and invisible ceilings, as you are referencing, keeps you safe, because then you're not showing up fully, and then the chances of failure are less, because in your mind you are mitigating the risk. So what happens is that, you talked about a couple of things that you were doing. So what are some other common internal barriers you've seen, especially high achievers doing that?
Oh, yes. So other common barriers that I see with high achievers are perfectionism, over identifying with achievement. So we have to achieve in order to be successful. We talked about people pleasing. We talked about approval seeking. We didn't talk about that, but that's attached to people pleasing. There are those who seek approval. They need approval from their boss, their colleagues, etc. Those are sort of the very common patterns for high achievers. Almost anyone, but especially for high achievers, they also experience these ceilings and can also get stuck inside those ceilings. And one thing that I think I'd like to mention as well, Divya, is that, success for high achievers is often defined by what we fear, not what we excel at. So we set our success based on, so an example might be, if because I fear not mattering, then success for me is when I achieve something that pseudo pacifies this for me internally, that I matter. But we're just trying to seek to prove and disprove the thing that we have as our limit. Anyway, we're not breaking through it. We're just proving it. And what happens is, and here's how you can tell when you have an internal ceiling: when you can transfer your life from one situation to the next. Let's say it's one job to the next, and you find you have the same complaints. You find you have the same experience. Then you know that ceiling is an internal ceiling, not an external one.
So that's how you are defining the difference between a real external obstacle and an internal obstacle.
Correct.
So now people have these invisible ceilings, right? And now that's what it is doing, and especially in the light of what you said, that it could be that you go from one job to another job. You are like, okay, you know what, this situation is not right for me, so let me move to another job, and you're having similar complaints. So given this, What happens where they're making the same decisions, which, as you said, like, they're making decisions out of what they fear, not what they excel at?
Mm-hmm. What happens when they're making the same decisions? So
Mhm.
I think one of the things is to recognize, I mentioned self-awareness, and that is really key, Divya. I'm going to offer a couple of tools for self-awareness because it is the critical first step. So asking yourself a few very important questions. What is really happening around me? The thing I'm complaining about, the thing I fear most, the thing that I am observing, what's really happening? Did the boss say that you're not going to get the promotion? Really? Or did that interviewer who interviewed you say that you weren't qualified for that position? Really? I'm making up scenarios, right?
Yeah.
So what really happened? What did the boss really say? What did the interviewer really say? So analyzing the situation for what it really is, that's step number one to self-awareness. Step number two to self-awareness is going inward in asking yourself, what are you avoiding?
Mm.
What are you avoiding? And this is where you might get an inkling, at least I believe it's possible, that this is where you might get an inkling of what your shame-based self-limiting belief is. I don't matter. I'm unwanted. I'm powerless. Because you'll find that that's what you're avoiding most. And then another question, the third question I recommend you ask is, what am I complaining about? What's my common complaint here? That typically connects you back to your shame-based self-limiting belief as well.
So those are three powerful questions, Tanya. And as you mentioned that, people may get inkling, but so many times what happens is that there is that zone of discomfort. When you become self-aware, you don't want to peek inside. People this people will say, oh, I'm doing doom scrolling, watching videos, playing games, binge watching like Netflix something. That is one of the hardest things to do, to peek inside. Now, let's say somebody has had the courage and they have done that. How can they connect the dots? All right. You mentioned about what they're avoiding and what is the complaint. So, how can they connect the dot between the complaint and what they're avoiding?
Great question. Thank you. So how do you connect the dots between what you're complaining about and what you're avoiding? The first thing is to be willing to accept the truth. And see, a lot of life, we live inside this construct of surviving life, right? Divya, we're surviving life for the most part. And these limits that we set are mechanisms for surviving life based on our old belief system, a belief system that served us back when we were a child, when we made that decision. My I don't matter was a way that I survived being bullied and feeling like I didn't belong in the world when I was a child. But that I don't matter doesn't suit me now as a woman who's out in the world trying to cause some great change and transformation.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work. And so the limits that we set are typically based on a life we were trying to survive back then. And so to connect the dot between what am I avoiding and what's really going on here, or what am I avoiding and what am I complaining about, is to be able to allow yourself to see the inconsistencies between the life you want to have, who you have to become to have that life, and what you've been holding on to from your past that's setting the limit for you today.
That's beautiful. And that's where it comes a time that when you're accepting, you're creating that space for letting go.
Oh, I love that, Divya. Absolutely. I love that. It is creating a space of letting go. That was beautiful.
Thank you. And we have talked about a lot of things. And as a person is traveling through the journey, it's also important to give yourself that grace and be kind to yourself. And while they're doing that, what else needs to change internally before they'll experience that real breakthrough?
Thank you for the question. Oh my gosh. So several things. The invisible ceiling blocks permission. What I mean by that is the thing that we want already exists. The promotion, the income, income stream, the platform we want to own, the success that we want to have, it already exists there for us. In fact, I believe personally that it's already there with our name on it. We just have to have permission to claim it. And what I mean by that is give ourselves permission to be seen. Give ourselves permission to take up space. Give ourselves permission to stop needing the approval of another person. Give ourselves permission to move forward without guilt, to have success without guilt. And when we give ourselves permission, now this is not as easy as it sounds. There's a journey that we have to go through to go from being the person who didn't matter to giving ourselves permission. But what I am indicating is that it is possible to be a person who I don't matter, who now can give myself permission to go out into the world and do something that has me matter. My mission personally is to help 1 million women go through a journey of self-healing so we can get on the other side and own our truth. I have to be someone who matters to do that. I couldn't do that as the young, right? I couldn't do it as the woman who believed I don't matter and hit bottom when I was named one of the top 20. It's incongruent. I couldn't be successful at it. And so, right? And so what the invisible ceiling does, it tells us, you can't reach as far as you want to go. You have to be realistic because you're not going to get there, Tanya, right? You believe you don't matter. How can you help 1 million people? You have to wait until you're confident. You need more training because you just don't have enough experience, right? That's what does.
I love your big, hairy, audacious goal. And I don't see why not. And who knows, it could be more than 1 million women. And I wish that for you.
Thank you. Thank you. And for the women and for the people in your audience, women and men alike, what happens is the ceiling is defining what is possible for us based on the old belief systems that we hold that do no longer apply today. And so it allows us to deny ourselves of what it is that we really dream of, what it is we really desire. And so it has us hesitate, it has us shrink, it has us opt out of really great opportunities when they show up for us. And so giving ourselves permission is a way to begin to become the person we need to become to do the thing we need to do.
Absolutely. So we have talked about a lot of things. What is one thing that our audience can apply immediately?
Well, I would say I'm going to come back to self-awareness. I just think the very first thing we could do to understand and be able to crack that ceiling is to do the work of self-awareness. What am I avoiding? What am I complaining about? And what are allow ourselves to be in the space of understanding what is the story that we have allowed to set the limit for who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you understand that, you no longer have to be defined by it.
Yeah. And to your point, there's nothing that defines us, because if you take a look at the sky, you look at the sun, nothing stops, right? Sun's rays will go in any part of the world. Of course, when the earth turns, we wouldn't have night and we need our sleep. So it's
True. Yes.
there's no limit. And that's when, as you mentioned, everyone has unlimited potential, and just going and releasing it. So given that, share with us, Tanya, how can our audience connect with you? If you have any upcoming events that you'd like to share?
Yes, absolutely. I have a workshop on Thursday this week. So that's in 2 days. And the workshop is designed, now this particular workshop is for high achieving women. And it's designed to help high achieving women have a breakthrough in their invisible ceiling as it relates to conquering or living life by what I call natural authority. So living life wholly from a place of our true authority based on our purpose, our mission, and who we have to be in order to satisfy that. So I would love to invite anyone from your audience who's interested in just having a breakthrough there. Mm-hmm. And it's no better time than now, as we're thinking about the transformations that many of us choose to take on when a new year starts. So this is a great opportunity to consider a transformation in our own lives so we can have our best in 2026.
And where can they connect with you?
Absolutely. I recommend you go to any of my social media. The handle is I am Tanya Comer, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and you can find information about the workshops there.
Okay, fantastic. Any last words, any last thoughts you'd like to share?
Yes, absolutely. Divya, for you, for your audience, I just would like to just leave these 3 things. There's nothing wrong. Having a ceiling isn't anything wrong. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity now to embrace another version of you, a version of you, a 2.0 version of you, or in my case, it would be a 3.0 because I had to fall twice. The ceiling that's there, Divya, it's not permanent. That's the second thing I want to say. And you already have what you need. It's already out there with your name on it. That job opportunity, that promotion, that raise, that entrepreneurial endeavor, it's already out there for you to have. The ceiling is only temporary, and you can break through it to get to the place you want to be, to live that dream that you have.
Well, thank you for that. And definitely you can connect with Tanya. And thank you for being part of our show, because without you, the show would not be possible. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Juan, for making the show technically possible. And we'll see you next week. Until then, be well and take care.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who have experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week.